All right. So like I said, welcome to Meet with an Expert, Paying for Grad School. The Student Money Management Center is proud to bring you this event series where we bring experts of content, different kinds of content experts to you, talk about money management topics, and especially those that have involved paying for your education. I want to begin by welcoming all of our students to this information center session, especially this is the first one we've done about your graduate school experience. Now, the Student Money Management Center serves students on all 3 campuses. We are really an amazing, untapped resource for a lot of you, and we surely are glad that you're here. We hope that you use us. We bring you programs like this one tonight, and we do so much more throughout the school year. We encourage you to follow us on Instagram or Facebook. Our handle is at TW Maroon Money, and our recorded sessions, like I said before, are also available on our YouTube channel. Online with us this evening, we have Gabby Pringle Owanaka, who is our Student Money Management Center Assistant Director. We also have our experts from the Office of Financial Aid, Assistant Director Keith Kopsky,
Hi.
as well as our Financial Aid Counselor, Brandy Henry.
Hey.
We also have our expert from the graduate school, our Graduate Services Analyst, Scott Wright, is with us.
Hello.
Now, our featured presenter this evening is Sergio Gonzalez with Sallie Mae. I'll introduce Sergio here in a moment, but just want to pass along a few housekeeping items. We will be using the chat feature for communication, for questions and answers. And throughout Sergio's presentation, he does pause, and Gabby can also interject as she is following along the chat to answer any of your questions. Please feel free to chime in at any time, and we will also have a question and answer session at the end of the presentation. Be sure to make sure that your view is on speaker view so that you can see the speakers and the slide deck throughout this presentation. And students, if you are a TW student and you have a question that contains personal information unique to your financial aid situation, we ask that you message one of our financial aid staff directly in the chat. So that would be either Brandy Henry or Keith Kopsky if you have a particular financial aid question, and they could help you. That way we keep confidentiality. Please directly chat with them. And when you exit tonight's session, there will be a very short, I promise, a very short, anonymous 6-question survey. Would you please fill that out for us? It does help us fine-tune these programs. Also asks what other subjects that you would like to see presented by the Student Money Management Center, because we definitely want to bring you experts that help you throughout your college journey. So let's get started. We are very fortunate to have Sergio Gonzalez with us this evening. Sergio has been in higher education since 1995. He is fluent in Spanish, lives in Houston, has a wonderful wife and their dog, and he's also experiencing high winds like we are up here in North Central Texas. So welcome, Sergio. I will turn the program over to you.
Thank you so much, Shalise, and thank you everyone for joining today. I'm glad that we have financial aid here and other experts to help navigate this conversation. So let me go ahead and share my screen to get started here. There we are. Perfect. All right, so let me bring this down. And just because of bandwidth, I might turn off my camera just to make sure that it doesn't take too much juice to show, but I definitely will come back at the end so we can answer any questions. And as Shalise said, if you have any questions along the way, feel free to put them in the chat. Gabby's really good about stopping and asking those questions on your behalf. But again, we'll have enough time at the end to answer any and all of your questions as well. So let me stop here. There we go. Okay. So why don't we get started? So today we're going to talk about paying for grad school. So if you're an undergraduate student who's considering or thinking about going to grad school, you're probably thinking, well, what financial aid is available? And that's why we're here today, to try to talk to you about all the different options that are out there and available for you as a graduate professional student, because it is much different than an undergraduate student. So we're going to go into detail on all of that. But first, I want to make sure that you understand cost, right? So every graduate school program is going to have their own cost of attendance, right? And that includes tuition fees, room and board, books and supplies, transportation, and miscellaneous expenses. And what you want to make sure that you understand is what are the direct costs and the indirect costs, right? So the direct cost is usually what's billed to you by the school. So of course, definitely tuition fees will be one of those that you want to make sure that you have enough aid to take care of those tuition fees. And then room and board may be different. Maybe you are going to be not living on campus, but you still have rent or a mortgage that you have to pay. So you have to consider those costs as well under room and board, or if you're going to be living on campus, right? So you want to make sure you understand the difference between the direct costs, which are the those that are billed to you by the school, and the indirect costs will vary by student depending on your need. And one thing that I always like to share with students is that although you have a cost of attendance, it doesn't mean that you have to borrow up to that cost of attendance, right? This is where budgeting really comes in to make sure they understand exactly how much you're going to need so that you can graduate with the least amount of debt possible. Because that's always the goal, is to try to graduate with the least amount of debt possible. And just like you did in undergraduate school, the FAFSA is going to continue to follow you if you're needing any type of federal aid assistance, right? So this is the most important document that you're going to fill out to be able to qualify for federal student aid. It is available for you every year, starting October the 1st. And as a graduate student, you will continue to do this while you're enrolled in school and needing financial aid. You can use the same credentials that you use for undergraduate school and use those same credentials to do your FAFSA for grad school. And for those of you who maybe are thinking about going to grad school this coming fall of 2025, you should have already done your FAFSA. If you haven't done so, you want to make sure that you do that as soon as possible. But again, it opens up every October 1st for you to be able to apply for the FAFSA. So I'm going to start first with the good stuff, which is free money, money that you don't have to pay back. I will tell you that grad students tend to get the short end of the stick with endowments. A lot of those endowments are more catered to the undergraduate student, but there are resources for graduate professional students to help them find scholarships. So I want to make sure that you understand what those are and where you can find those. So you can start locally in your community. Base scholarships I'm going to be awarding for students who are going to grad school. State agencies, depending if you're going to a public school or a private school. The public schools tend to have what is called a Texas grant, where the private schools have something that's called a tuition equalization grant. That is specific to the state of Texas. The colleges themselves may be offering you a scholarship for a specific graduate professional program that you're interested in going, right? So you want to check with the colleges to see if there's any scholarships that are awarded for that specific program that you want to enroll for. And then if you attend religious organizations, you may want to ask, because you'll be surprised that if you're a parishioner of one of your churches, that they may offer some scholarships for students who are wanting to go to graduate school as well. So your employer is also another great resource. You'll find that sometimes they have programs that will help you to pay for some of your school. And you want to make sure that you take advantage of those as well. And I put the libraries here. I know it's very old school, but it's still a great resource for students to help them find scholarships to pay for grad school. And then private organizations and companies offer a variety of scholarships as well. So you want to make sure that you understand that. I'm sure we've all heard of Microsoft, Apple, Target, Walmart. There are different scholarships that are out there that you want to take advantage of and see what scholarships are available for students who are wanting to go to graduate professional school. And then the other one that I want to make sure that I share with you is online search engines, because this is an easy and fast way to help you find scholarships that can help you pay for grad school as well. I think there's a misconception that students have that, well, scholarship is only for the high school student trying to get to college. And that is not the case. There are scholarships out there available for graduate professional students. It's just going to take some time for you to find those scholarships. And one great way to do that is through online search engines that are available for you as well. You want to make sure that those online search engines, and I'm going to give you a few that you can go and take a look at. You want to make sure that they're free, that they're not charging you to use their tool. It kind of defeats the purpose of finding free money when you're having to pay for it, right? I will tell you that Sallie Mae has scholarships by Sallie. There's about 4,000 scholarships in that database. And the nice thing about this is that I took a peek before the meeting today, the presentation today, and I filtered out by graduate professional, and there is about 1,200 scholarships that are out there specific for graduate students. So there are out there. And the nice thing about this tool is that you're able to filter. There's no need to create a registration. There's no need to create a user ID and password. There's no need for you to create a profile. It's all based on filtering. I'll use myself as an example. I say graduate student, Latino, first generation, interested in being an accountant to go to grad school. And then what it'll do is going to filter out all the scholarships based on the filtering that you've done, right? So that's a really easy way to help you find scholarships. Some other ones that are out there as well that you probably heard of is FastWeb is another one that's out there, and also the College Board Big Future. Those are another two reputable organizations that offer scholarship search engines, but I want to make sure that you take advantage of this because this is free money that you don't have to pay back. And that's where you want to start always first. And then additional resources that you'll find that some schools offer fellowships and assistantships. And then employers may offer, as I talked to you about, maybe a tuition reimbursement programs. So I'm going to touch a little bit on these so you have a better understanding of what these are and how they're offered to you as well. So, fellowships and assistantships, it's going to vary, right? It's going to be available to help you really defray the cost of grad school, as well as help you provide you with valuable experience while you're in graduate professional program. So let's start with the graduate assistantship, right? So what this does, it helps students to help them pay for grad school, either through both tuition waivers and cash compensation, right? And these positions may also offer benefits such as health insurance, housing, and meal plans. But I've got to tell you that the competition for graduate assistantships is very intense, right? And they typically break these down into two different categories. It's either a teaching assistantship or a research assistantship. But sometimes these positions may involve both responsibilities. So do know that and take that into consideration. The availability and the types of programs being offered can vary. So we encourage students to always inquire with their school and their graduate program to see and learn more about the details if they're offering any type of graduate assistantship. Whereas a graduate fellowship, this may be university awarded, it could be federally funded, or it may be offered by an independent organization, right? And many of these fellowships for graduate programs target specific student groups, or they can be based on a field of study. And then some fellowships are considered portable. So that means often referred to as an external fellowship, right? And these again are awarded based on academic need or academic record or merit. So do know that as well. And then the amount of the stipends that these grants can vary depending upon different factors, including the length of the graduate school fellowship and by the fellowship provider as well. And Gabby, are there any questions coming in? I just want to make sure we stop here in case there are any questions thus far.
No, I don't see any questions right now.
All right, perfect. Will you let me know, Gabby?
Yes, I will.
And then the other thing is tuition reimbursement programs, right? So some employers offer these programs. It helps to be able to pay some of your tuition and reimburse you. Do you know that sometimes they will pay till after you complete the program? So you may have to use some financial aid to cover this, but they get reimbursed by your employer. So if you're employed currently or you're looking to be employed, you may want to check with the employer to see if this benefit might be available for you, because this is another way to help you pay down and not having to borrow money or too much money, because you'll be able to get reimbursed with these programs. So again, these are just some resources additional that I wanted to make sure that you understand how these work. But now let's get into your federal student loan options that are available for you. And before we get into the specific loans that are available to you, I want to make sure that you understand the relative cost when it comes to student loans and some key terminologies that I want to make sure that you understand, right? So origination fees. So these are upfront fees. They're going to be charged to you by the lender. And basically, it's going to be taking out from the amount that you initially borrowed, right? So make sure you understand that what is a fee and specifically an origination fee. And then interest rate, this is basically what the lender is charging you to use their money, right? So the higher the interest rate, the higher the total loan cost will be. And then interest capitalization, this happens when unpaid interest is added to the principal amount of the loan, right? So you're going to find that if you don't make any payments while you're in school, when you graduate, it's going to capitalize and be added to your principal amount that you initially borrowed. And then repayment incentives, you're going to find that the federal government and other banks and financial institutions offer these incentives to help you want to make payments on time and be successful repayment. And they can be in the form of interest rate reductions. It can be in the form of a credit loan balance. So you want to make sure that you understand what those terms and conditions are for these repayment incentives, because that way it can help you save some money with some of these loans that you're having to borrow. So for those of you who are in undergraduate school, you probably know that you probably got a subsidized loan or an unsubsidized. Well, when you get to the graduate level, you are no longer eligible for subsidized loans. The only loan that's available for you would be a direct unsubsidized loan. So what is the difference between a subsidized and an unsubsidized? So in a subsidized loan, the government pays the interest for you while you're enrolled at least half time, right? So that is not available for graduate students. So the option that you have is unsubsidized. And the unsubsidized, what this is that interest is accruing on these loans as soon as the money is sent to the school, right? So the average amount that you're able to get yearly is $20,500 for a graduate professional student. For some health profession programs, it can be up to $40,000, like medical students and dental students. But the most common graduate MBA graduate program that's out there, it's about $20,500. And the maximum amount that you can borrow is $138,500. That's including undergrad and graduate school combined. The current interest rate for the unsubsidized loan is 8.08%. It is a fixed rate, meaning that it's not going to change for the life of that loan. It'll stay that rate until you finish paying back that specific loan. And it does have a fee. It's an origination fee of 1.057%, right? So those are the charges for this loan. A FAFSA is going to be required if you're needing these type of loans. We always encourage you to do a FAFSA regardless. You have 6 months from the date that you graduate before you go into repayment on these loans. You have some flexibility when it comes to repayment. It can be from 10 to 25 years. And if you're having difficulties paying these back, you'll find that you have some deferments and forbearances available for you. There can also be some loan forgiveness programs that may be available for you, as well as some income-based repayment options. And then if you're in the military, there's some special provisions for you as well. But this is the most common loan that graduate students are going to utilize. But if this is still not enough to help pay your tuition and fees, or you need some gap financing for cost of living, then there may be some other options that are available for you. And some commonly used gap financing tools can be in the form of tuition payment plans. We find that some individuals want to use 401k plans, long-term investments, home equity loans or lines of credit, credit cards, and then you also have some loan options with the Federal Plus loans and the private student loans. And I'm going to go through all of these because I want to make sure that you understand what are the pros and cons when utilizing some of these financing tools to help you pay for the gap that still may be remaining. So a payment plan
Hey,
can be a great
Sergio.
Yes, please.
I received a question.
Mhm.
A student said, I'm applying for a program with the summer start. I'm anticipating funding for the fall semester, but not certain where to start for summer funding. Any suggestions?
So does the graduate program start in the fall, but you're going to be starting a little bit earlier in the summer? Is that? the question?
Hopefully it's an anonymous participant.
Yeah, well, why don't we save that one to the end so we can get a little bit more detailed
Okay.
of what exactly is happening, and maybe we can do a sidebar with that student to help them with that as well.
Okay.
Perfect. So tuition payment plans, this is a great option. These are usually offered to you by the schools. So if you have maybe $1,000 that's still remaining, so maybe you don't want to borrow $1,000, then maybe you can do a monthly payment to help pay off that $1,000 that still remains as a balance with the school. Most often, there are interest-free funding options available for you. They usually cover a semester or an academic year. It just depends on the school. Some plans may have some fees or other charges, so if you're late, you may incur some penalties as well. But again, this may be an option that you can use in combination with other loan programs, so that maybe you say, I'll borrow, your balance is 2,000 and you borrow 1,000, and then the other you're going to do a payment plan. So you can use a combination of those two. So that may be an option for you as well. Now, 401k plans, right? So let's talk about this and look at these. So some benefits might be that there are no credit checks and there's no lengthy application involved, and you'll have easy access to the money, right? But if you're having to withdraw funds early, you may be charged a fee, a penalty fee, right? So take that into consideration. And then most financial experts don't recommend using money from your 401k. Why? Because remember, you can always borrow for education, but you cannot borrow for retirement. So this may not be the best option available for you. So you see the cons outweighs the pros when it comes to 401ks. Same thing with long-term investments. So some students and families may look at long-term investments such as mutual funds or stocks and bonds to help them pay for their remaining balance. Some benefits would be, again, no credit check or no lengthy applications, and you have easy access to the money, right? But again, the cons outweigh the pros in that you're going to find that you want to consider things like, well, I have money for retirement, right? Um, is that these funds may have been intended to supplement retirement income. So investment may be sold at a loss as well, or you may lose out on some future investment growth, right? So it's not recommended that you also use these, because if you're using these to help you pay for retirement or to supplement some of your retirement, this may not be the best option for you as well. And then some may consider a home equity loan or a line of credit, right? So the benefit again is that you have easy access to that money. But a few things that you want to consider is that you will have to pay back the loan to be able to sell your home, right? And that you might need this resource in the future for other home repairs that may come up, right? Life happens, maybe that AC goes out, and that's a big expense. Or maybe you want to do some remodeling in the kitchen or the bathroom, but now you've already have a home equity loan because you're using it to pay for any gaps. So this may not be the best option for you. And if you default on your home equity loan, you have the risk of losing your home as well. So again, the cons outweigh the pros when it comes to home equity loans and lines of credit. And then sometimes I have students that say, well, what if I just put it on my credit cards? It's easy just to charge it, right? Well, paying for tuition with credit cards can seem quick and easy, but you need to take into account that the average interest rate is around 16 to 25% on these credit cards. And you'll find that some other financing options may be at a better rate than most credit cards. So this may not be the best option. It's fast and easy, but there may be some processing fees when you're use a credit card to pay for school. There are some credit limits, and that you don't want to overextend yourself either. And this may be the most expensive option to help you pay for that gap that still remains. I will tell you that the most common loans that are used to help pay for any gap that remains is a Graduate Plus loan. That is one option that you have. This is a loan that's 10 to 25 year that allows the student to borrow funds to cover the remainder amount that's still remaining. The current interest rate for this current academic year is 9.08%, Again, it is a fixed rate, meaning that it's not going to change for the life of the loan. It does have a hefty fee of 4.228%, but a FAFSA is going to be required for this loan. You don't have to make any payments while you're in school. You can defer until after you've graduated. You have to be enrolled at least half time to be able to qualify for this loan. And this loan is more about credit adverse history, right? So as long as you know credit adverse history in your background, then you should be able to get this loan. It doesn't take into account any debt to income ratios. But if something is not well with your credit, or maybe you've had some other issues with your credit, then they may offer you an endorser where you can add somebody to help you qualify for this loan. And again, you have about 10 to 25 years to pay this back, and you can borrow up to the cost of attendance. So this is a great option to help you pay for that gap that still remains or additional funding that you're still needing. And the other option may be a private student loan, right? So know the difference is that the Graduate Plus loan, that is a federal loan that is provided to you by the federal government. Private student loans are different. These are loans that are offered to you by banks or credit unions or other financial institutions as well. A FAFSA is not required, but we always recommend that you file a FAFSA because you want to make sure that you take advantage of that because there may be other grants or scholarships that you may be eligible for. So always file a FAFSA regardless. And then who is the borrower? It is a student. And these are credit-based loans. So if you don't have good credit or don't have enough credit, you may not qualify. So you may need a cosigner to attach. Similar to the Grad Plus loan as an endorser, the private institutions, the private lenders call them cosigners, but it's someone that has good credit that will be attached to the loan. The nice thing with some private loans is that they have cosigner release options available. So it's not a life sentence for your cosigner, so that after you make so many on-time payments, the cosigner is able to get released, and now it's just the obligation of the student borrower to pay it back. You have the option of both usually fixed rates and variable rates. It just depends on the student, what you feel more comfortable with. But all this will be presented to you. And most likely, most private loans don't have any origination fees. So if you need $5,000, you're going to get $5,000. Most private lenders also offer in-school repayment options where you can either make payments while you're in school or defer the payments until after you've graduated. And they give you terms about 5 to 20 years to help you pay this back. But again, this is another option to help you pay for any balances that remains or any living expenses that you're still needing if the unsubsidized loan wasn't enough to cover that as well. And then just to see kind of a comparison between both of these loans, because these are the most popular loans that you have to help you pay for any gaps or any additional financing that you're needing above the unsubsidized and the other financial aid that you received. So this kind of gives you some similarities and some differences between the two programs, right? So who is the issuer on the Grad Plus loan? It is the federal government, as we talked about earlier, whereas a private loan is a financial institution like a bank. The borrower here is a student. The interest rate for the Plus loan is at 9.08%. It varies on the private student loans. It can be as low as 5% or as high as 10 to 11, 12%, right? You have the option of both variable or fixed rates. And maybe you're thinking or asking, what is the difference between a variable and a fixed rate? A fixed rate, as I talked to you, it is a fixed rate for the life of that loan. It's not going to go up or down. It's going to stay that same rate until you finish paying off that loan. A variable rate, that can vary depending on that index rate, right? It can go up or down. So if you want the peace of mind, a fixed rate may be a better option for you. Or I also get the question too, well, when would you choose the variable rate? You'll find that sometimes variable rates offer you a lower rate to begin with. But my advice always is that if your goal is to pay this off sooner than later, then maybe a variable rate may be the way to go. But if you're concerned that it's going to take you longer to pay this back, then a fixed rate would be the best option for you. But you want to weigh those options and understand what debts you have and how that's going to look like for you as well. And then when you start paying this back, usually 60 days, but you are able to defer this loan until after you've completed your program, and you have a 6 months grace period on both the Graduate Plus loan and the private student loans. The origination fees, as you see there, 4.228% on the Graduate Plus loan and 0 fees for the private student loans. We talked about the FAFSA. The minimum enrollment status for Grad Plus, you have to be enrolled at least half-time. And most private lenders, it doesn't matter if you're half-time or less than half-time, you can still are eligible. And then payment flexibility. This is where really there's a difference between both of these loan programs. Usually the federal loan programs offer you a variety of different repayment options and maybe some public service loan forgiveness as well. So if that's important to you, then maybe the Grad Plus is the way to go. But if you're looking maybe for a lower rate, then maybe a private loan may be the way to go. But again, you want to weigh all your options and make an informed decision to see what's going to be the best fit for you and your family. And then just to show you an example of a net disbursement. So we talked about origination fees, right? So let's say that you're needing $10,000. So you got to take that origination fee, and then what the net disbursement would be about $9,577, right? But you're still responsible to pay back the full $10,000. Whereas with most private loans, they don't have any fees. If you want $10,000, you're going to get $10,000, right? So just make sure that you understand that as well. And then key things to consider when you're shopping for educational loans, right? Because you want to make sure that you understand exactly what you're getting yourself with. The goal for financial aid offices and for everyone at the school is that you graduate with the least amount of debt. So the question is always asked, how much should I borrow, right? Well, you want to consider your financial situation, right? You also want to look at what are my potential incomes for this graduate program that I'm wanting to do. I will tell you that the more degrees that you have, the higher the income potentials you have, which is always great, right? But you want to make sure that you understand that. How much am I borrowing versus how much am I going to pay back, right? What is that payment going to look like, and can I afford that, right? So you want to make sure, because if you're going to be doing liberal arts graduate program, which is great, but your incomes may not be as high. So should you be borrowing so much money? So those are things that you want to make sure that you're taking into consideration. And then the type of interest rates, we talked a little bit about this, right? Fixed versus variable. It really depends on you, what you feel more comfortable. If you feel the comfort of not wanting that rate to go up or down, then the fixed rate is going to be the best option for you. But again, if you're looking to pay this off sooner than later, soon after you graduate, then maybe a variable rate may be a better option for you. But again, weigh your options to see what's going to be the best fit for you and your family. And then what benefit programs are being offered, like repayment incentives. So for the federal loan programs and also for the private loan programs that are out there, they offer you a 0.25% interest rate reduction for signing up for automatic debit, right? So that means that your payments are going to automatically come out from your checking and savings account. And by you doing that, they're going to give you a 0.25% interest rate reduction. So that helps you to lower that rate even further. So definitely take advantage of those. But then look at other things, because you'll find that some private lenders offer you some interest reductions. They may also offer you some credit loan balances. So if you're going the route of a private loan, check to see what the terms are so that you can take advantage of some of those savings. And then other features that you want to consider when you're shopping for educational loans is repayment terms. Do they offer you a variety of repayment terms, right? Are they a 10-year term, 20-year term, 30-year term? What do the terms look like, right? Are there any fees that they're charging me? If I'm needing a cosigner or an endorser, are they able to get released from the loan obligation? And then are there any death and disability waivers available, right? Hopefully this never happens, but you want to make sure that if someone is attached to your loan, that they're not obligated to have to pay that back, right? Or that you have to pay it back as well. So these are things that you want to consider when you're looking at educational loans. And then for those of you who are in undergraduate school that may have borrowed loans, you're thinking, well, goodness, now I have loans in undergrad and now I'm having to borrow again for graduate school. What happens to my loans from undergraduate school, right? And if you're not sure how much you borrowed in undergraduate school, this is where you would go. Any federal loan that you've ever borrowed, you're going to find that at studentaid.gov. It's going to give you everything that you ever borrowed from undergraduate school and graduate school as well. It's going to tell you how much you borrowed, when you borrowed, at what rate, and who your servicer is for the federal government. So that would be the way to go if you're wanting to know what federal loans you borrowed. And then for private loans, if you borrowed some in undergraduate school, that's not going to be found at student.gov, right? Because these are private student loans from a bank or financial institution. So the best way to find out if you took out a private loan is to go to annualcreditreport.com, right? And there you're going to be able to see if there's an educational private loan on your credit report. And just a plug here, we always encourage students on an annual basis to check their credit report because we don't want to make sure that you have not been a victim of identity theft, and make sure that there are no discrepancies in your credit report, right? By law, every 12 months, you're able to get this for free. So definitely take advantage of that. I will tell you that college students are very susceptible to identity theft. So you want to make sure that you monitor your credit on an annual basis. And then so for your undergraduate loans, so you have a grace period, right? So for those loans in undergraduate that you borrowed, you won't have to start paying those back until 6 months from the date that you finish undergraduate school, right? So you're thinking, well, what if it takes me longer than 6 months to go to grad school? Well, you only get one grace period, right? So if it takes you longer than 6 months to transition from undergrad to grad school, after that 6 months are over, you're going to go into full principal and interest payments on your loans. You can request to do a deferment or forbearance on these loans. So do know that these loans in undergraduate school, you can do what is called an in-school deferment, right? Where you can defer those undergraduate loans while you are in grad school. As long as you're enrolled at least half time, you can defer these loans and not have to worry about making any payments on your undergraduate loans, as well as your graduate loans that you're borrowing when you're in grad school. There's two different types, right? There's deferments and forbearances. And just so you understand the difference, a deferment you have to apply for and qualify for, right? And there's a variety of different deferments. We talked about the in-school deferment, so you can defer these loans while you're enrolled at least half time at grad school. There's also maybe after you've graduated that there's an unemployment deferment. So if you're having a hard time finding a job, you can do an unemployment deferment. Or maybe you do have a job, but your debt to income ratios are really off and you're struggling to make those payments, you can apply for an economic hardship deferment. And then if you're in the military and get mobilized, there's military mobilization deferments available for you as well. So if you don't qualify for any deferments, then the next option is going to be a forbearance. This one, you definitely don't have to officially apply. You simply contact your servicer and let them know that, hey, listen, I didn't qualify for a deferment, but I need to postpone payments for 6 months, right? So the example that I gave to you about if it's going to take you longer to transition from undergrad to grad school, longer than 6 months, and your grace period is gone, then you can call your servicer and say, hey, I am going to be starting grad school in 6 months from now. Can you put me in a forbearance so that I don't have to make any payments? And they can do that for you. And then once you get into grad school, you can qualify for an in-school deferment as long as you're enrolled at least half time. And let me pause there. Gabby, any questions coming in?
Well, I have two questions.
Okay.
And so the first one was that the student recently was accepted into grad school and the program for fall 2025.
Okay.
And the graduate program wants an answer in 2 weeks if they will be attending. However, financial aid is a major decision factor for the student. So they followed the checklist that's on the university website and submitted their FAFSA. But when do they typically learn about their financial aid options?
Yeah, if you specified on that FAFSA the school to receive the information, so once they get that information and see that you're enrolled in the program as well, they should be offering you an offer letter showing you the different type of aid that you qualify for. If you haven't received anything yet, you may want to contact the financial aid office just to make sure that they received your FAFSA and see when they think that offer letter would be available for you so you can determine if you can afford that school or what type of aid is being offered to help you pay for grad school.
Oh, Sergio, is it okay to chime in real quick?
Yeah, please,
I
of
was to
course.
just let you, yeah, we
Yes.
haven't started processing for, was it fall 25 yet? We should be for the 25-26 age year yet. So I think we should be awarding pretty soon. We're kind of getting everything ready, but we haven't started awarding for fall 25, spring 26 yet. Definitely, I would still encourage that student to just come see us just to make sure if they've submitted the FAFSA to us, to our office, definitely come see us just to make sure that there's nothing outstanding that way, once we start awarding, they'll be good to go. But we just haven't started awarding yet.
Thank you, Keith.
So
You're
then
welcome.
I have a question to go with that conversation. So what if she does accept the graduate program because she's really interested in that institution,
Mhm.
and she realized that she can't afford it? How could she back out of that position at that graduate school? Like if she decides like it's too expensive, is there a graceful way to decline and inform them that she changed her mind for coming fall 2025?
Oh, absolutely. You never have to accept all of your aid that's being offered to you. So if you find that it's too many loans and there's no gift aid, or it's just too costly and the balance that's remaining is too high for you to have to pay for, you can accept and decline any offer that's offered to you, and that's okay. Um, you don't want to accept everything. That's why you want to make sure that you take a look at that offer that's being offered to you to see what of that is gift aid, what of that is loans, and then what is still the balance remaining, if any, that's still required, and what options do you have to help you pay for those balances. And Keith, I don't know if you want to share or add anything to that.
No, I think actually you kind of nailed it. Yeah, exactly. I don't have any any other way to kind of add anything better to that. No, I'd say that was good.
Hey Sergio, I can chime in
Oh,
for a
yeah,
second
perfect.
also as well. Okay, so our plan, we are transitioning, we're finishing up the 24-25 fiscal year. We're transitioning over to 25-26. Our goal is to start awarding by April. However, we do know that you'll be registering for your classes soon. So thankfully, the bursar's office offers a payment plan and or an emergency payment plan. So once you register for your classes, you'll be able to log into your TW self-service account. And self-service is where you register for classes, view your financial aid, and then also set up on a payment plan or an emergency payment plan that will cover your tuition and fees on a temporary basis. I just now put the cost because I know a lot of students are curious as how much graduate tuition is at TWU. So you're welcome to go and kind of work with that tuition and fee estimator. You'll put in the amount of hours you'll be enrolling in, what your program hours are, and it'll give you a synopsis analysis of how much your tuition and fees are going to be per semester. The minimum requirement to receive at least an unsub loan or a Grad Plus loan at TWU is to enroll in at least 5 credit hours. And the 5 credit hours have to be a part of your degree plan. When you get into your, towards the end of your program, some classes allow you to take one class, like if you're working your thesis or dissertation or professional paper statement, then you can receive financial aid with that one class. And of course, if you're going into the EMBA program, you can receive financial aid for that one particular class as well for that semester. So hopefully that kind of helps you guys out and encourages you to, enroll as soon as you can. And I promise you, we will start processing financial aid. We'll process fall spring first. We like to wait for students to kind of get their summer classes completed, and then we'll go back in and we'll pull some of the money that we awarded for fall spring and put in the summer to help you pay for your tuition and fees.
Perfect. Thank you, Brandy.
You're welcome.
And then if you had any private loans as well, you can use a forbearance to defer your undergraduate if you had one in undergrad school. So simply contact your lender and they can help you with that as well. And then just kind of conclude here, there's no one size fits all, right? Every school is going to be different. Every grad school is going to be different. It all depends the program that you're wanting to go into, whether it's business, whether it's education, medical, law, whatever the case may be. You just want to make sure that you understand what are the costs, right? And then you don't have to accept all aid that's being offered, right? You want to make sure you understand what type of aid is being offered. And we always want to do what we call the 1, 2, 3 approach to paying for grad school, which is number one, always find free money first, money that doesn't have to be paid back, right? Best kind of financial aid. So exhaust all as much as you can. And then if that's not enough, then look at the unsubsidized federal student loan option that we talked about. And then if there's any gaps remaining, then consider a responsible educational loan or a payment plan as well to help you pay for that balance or any gaps that you have that still remains. I put it in QR codes here. We have a whole site that we created for graduate school information to learn more about all the different options that we just talked about today. And then I have also the QR code for the scholarship search for graduate students as well, so you can learn and be able to find some graduate scholarships specific for your programs as well. So definitely take advantage of these. If you have your cell phone, open your camera and take advantage to get access to both of these resources that are both free to you to be able to use. But at this point, I'm going to open it up to any questions, and I'm going to stop sharing my screen.
I did have
Yeah.
another question.
Yes, please.
Sergio, so going back to the original question where the student was saying that they applied for a program with the summer start and is anticipating fund for the fall, but was uncertain about the summer funding. They said the program has a rolling admissions, and if they get all of their materials in on time, they will start in the summer. But they didn't inform us what institution, because I know at TWU, funding starts in the summer for the academic year, and some universities funding will start in the fall for the new academic year and ends with the summer.
Right. Well, and it seems that there's certain documents or files that they have to put in place to be able to get aid for that summer if they're wanting to start. So I would just encourage them to try to get all the documentation that's needed for them to be able to get any aid if they're wanting to start in the summer. But do know that it's going to require 2 different FAFSAs, right? Because one, if you're doing summer aid, that's, how should I put this? See, some schools have a summer header or trailer, right? So if that school is a summer trailer, then they're using the 24-25 FAFSA. And if you're going to be starting in the fall, then you need to do the 25-26 FAFSA, right? So do know that because if the school is what we call a summer trailer, then you're going to have to do 2 FAFSAs to be able to get aid for the summer and then aid for the fall and on. Any other questions, concerns? You have great expertise on with financial aid being here, Shalise and her team and Gabby as well. Also budgeting as well. I mean, you know, when you start thinking about going to grad school and you're thinking, well, how do I budget accordingly based on living just on financial aid, right? And that refund that you're going to get. How do I stretch that out for a semester? So Shalise and team can help you with that as well. I always encourage students too that if you're able to make payments, if you're having to borrow student loans, I always encourage students to make some payments while you're in school so that it minimizes some of the interest that's going to capitalize on that loan. You're not obligated to do so, but you can stop and go. But any little that you do can really help to minimize some of that interest that's occurring on these loans.
Oh, Sergio, so wise and with so much great information. Thank you. This has been phenomenal. I know there's a lot of information, audience, that you just received, and we absolutely can answer any questions. Like you said, we have all different departments represented, different areas. Our own TW Graduate School is here as well. We know that some of you may be TW students and are considering graduate school at another institution. That's why we brought Sergio in to just talk overall, but we have TW folks here. So if you have any questions, please chime in, or even if you want to, you can unmute.
Well, until we have a question, I'll just kind of talk for a second. So when we start processing your financial aid package as a grad student, as long as you're in good standing in your loan on your loans, or if you haven't borrowed loans before, we will award you either up to the maximum amount annually is $20,500 in an unsub loan, which can be split between summer, fall, and spring, or up to your cost of attendance. And I put a wet link out there. Cost of attendance does include tuition, fees, books, room and board, and living expenses. And so we award based upon up to your cost of attendance. And for some students, they have their cost to attend or their monthly bills is more than what is set for them. So we do have a form called a budget review on our financial aid website where we can analyze when you turn in documentation to try to increase your cost of attendance based upon what you provide. Because as Sergio had said, there's a Grad Plus loan. So maybe you've used your unsub loans and you need a Grad Plus loan on top of that, to where we can add that Grad Plus loan on top of the unsub so that you can, at least attend and go to school and not have to worry.
Thank you, Brandy.
You're welcome.
I don't see any questions. Gabby, do you have anything on your side?
I have nothing on my side.
We've got nice, quiet folks here this evening. I want to go ahead and wrap up. No questions. Okay. I want to go ahead and wrap up and share with you guys some more information from the Student Money Management Center. We are very happy to continue our spring semester Meet with an Expert series. And so you can see on your screen, these are the remaining sessions that we have coming up. Some of them are strictly virtual. Some of them are hybrid on the Denton campus. We encourage you, if any of those topics interest you, and you're a Zoom person and that these times are great for you, then check out our Meet with an Expert spring series. The ones from March 18th, starting with apartment leasing, going all the way through. We're going to have Sergio back again to finish us off on April 15th with student loan repayment plans. Those are all part of Maroon Money Month. And let me tell you about Maroon Money Month. Let me get that next screen up there. Maroon Money Month is coming up. It is from March the 17th through April the 17th. So many great things are happening on all three campuses, online. This is in support of National Financial Literacy Month. And our theme is a 70s disco theme, as you can tell by the branding there. We have more than 25 events for you to participate in. We've got all kinds of prizes, in-person games, the virtual info sessions, workshops. There really is something for everyone. So make sure you follow at TW Maroon Money on Instagram and Facebook for the very latest news. And if you're on Pioneer Engage, we have all of our events as well listed on Pioneer Engage. So just want to check and make sure. Any other questions before we wrap up, folks?
Someone did say.
Oh, we do have
Oh,
one.
go for it, Brandy. It's yours.
We do have a question. Anna, if you want to unmute, you want to go ahead and say what your question is?
Hi, yes. Can y'all hear me okay?
Absolutely.
Okay, perfect. So I am currently in graduate school. I started this semester. And before I started, I did my FAFSA for 24-25, and then I also did my FAFSA for 25-26. So I have everything done. And I'm pursuing a Master's of Arts in Teaching. And so I also applied for the Pell Grant and the Teach Grant that goes through the universities. And I was just wondering kind of any tips you might have for educator-specific ones. I've applied for the TWU scholarship stuff, and I've looked around for scholarships both in the area and kind of at the local level as well as more at the national levels, but I'm really trying to avoid loans. I was able to avoid them in undergrad because of scholarships, and I was able to save money towards grad school now. And so I'm just kind of trying to find a way to lessen kind of the load on my savings that I've saved up. If y'all had any kind of tips or anything.
I can tell you that there is limited amount of grants available for grad students, and there's not any federal grants available for grad students. The Pell Grant is for undergrad, so they don't offer Pell Grants for grad students. The Teach Grant form, yes, definitely send that. I think on that form is you send it to the education office. They fill out their part and then they notify our office, and we do award those the Teach Grant based upon the information that we receive from the education office. And if you applied for TW scholarships, the deadline was a few days ago. It was March 1st. Those decisions are going to be made by the end of May, and students are notified over the summer if they receive a TW scholarship. And so, there are the loans there. You don't have to take out the whole amount or not at all. You can even reduce the amount down to just what you need. Because of course we encourage, as Sergio had said, less debt is better, but if you need them, they are there for you. And definitely, look at the private scholarships available as well. And so that's pretty much, not a lot of funding, but a little bit. And there are state grants though. There's a graduate, a board, TW awards a graduate board authorized grant. It is based upon need. So we did pull in FAFSAs about a week or two ago. We can confirm if you contact us at the office during business hours, whether or not we at least have your FAFSA application. And if you turned it in before March 1st, you are in that priority group. From FAFSA, it's based upon the SAI. It used to be EFC, Estimated Family Contribution. They changed it to SAI, Student Aid Index, which goes down to negative 1,500. So if yours is close to that, then most likely you probably would be considered for what we have a graduate board authorized grant. Funding is very limited. We do award until it's exhausted, and it's about $1,000 per semester. So that's a little bit that'll help out at least. And I put a web link out there. We have something new for this current academic year that we're in. You can now schedule a financial aid 101 counseling appointment with a counselor in our office via Zoom or phone, which is really neat. So you just go out there, pick a time, and you'll have 30 minutes to ask us any questions that you want one-on-one.
Perfect. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Hannah, I want to chime in here. Have you considered a graduate assistantship? Are you in a position where you could accept one?
So I have applied for everything that I can. The education department doesn't do graduate assistantships or like any sort of research assistance. My program is fully online because it's meant for students who are working full time. So I'm taking 12 graduate hours. The recommended is 2 if you're also working full time, but I did 4, and then I'm also working 30 hours a week, and then I also have required field hours for my classes, and so I don't really have time for a graduate assistantship,
Right.
but also I've contacted the education department and all that sort of stuff, and they said they don't do any.
Well, just so you know, you don't have to have an assistantship in your program. You can have an assistantship outside or in a university support office like Student Life or some of the other on campus. So it's something to consider for the future. It's not free money or a scholarship, but it would help a little bit if you were in a position where you would be able to work as a graduate assistant. But it doesn't sound like you're in that spot.
Yeah, I've called around, but I just couldn't seem to find any luck. I know some of this has been just kind of added on because I started in the spring. I know that everything's kind of wonky when you start in a spring semester versus the fall. So I'm hoping maybe something comes through for the fall semester, but kind of just hoping and praying at this point.
Thank you for coming today to get some of those questions answered, Anna. I really appreciate it. We do have Joyce that has a question. Joyce?
Yes, Miss Chelsea. Yeah, I recently applied to the master's grad in pertaining to dental hygiene. I know it's been a while. I haven't heard anything. I keep calling to check the status. I just received like a general welcome letter. I don't know if that's what it is, but my main thing is I did receive an email that I have to set an account in a portal. I've been trying for so many weeks and it does not work. I've been calling student records. They keep sending me to, I think he said it's a department and nobody picks up, and I keep leaving messages. I also did apply for the financial aid before March 1st. I haven't heard anything. So I'm just kind of like, I don't know where the start is. Like, I'm just generally confused, like what is going on pertaining everything.
I'm gonna thank you so much for your question. I'm gonna ask my experts here from TWU, where do you guys think we should help her with this portal situation? Does anybody have any suggestions? Scott or Brandy, Keith?
So you're having, I'm so sorry, you're having issues with your portal?
Yes, it keeps saying that my information cannot be accessed. My birthday is not correct. It's
Okay.
been so many, yeah.
Okay, so first step, definitely contact the TW help desk and see if there's an issue on that part. The number to the TW help desk is 940-898.
Hold on. Okay.
It's yeah,
94.
940
Okay.
898
898
3971.
3971.
And then call the TW registrar's office to make sure that your information is correct in the system. A lot of common things that I see is when students put in their TW admissions application, they have the option whether or not to put in their social, which is good. But that's how we pull in the FAFSA is the social security number. So later on, you'll need to contact the registrar's office to make sure that your information is up to par and up to date, and especially your social later on, so that we can go in and we can receive that, FAFSA application. And so those are hopefully 2 points of avenue that we can guide you on. And then for your personal financial aid, definitely either contact the financial aid office tomorrow, or you can schedule an appointment via Zoom or a phone call where we can take a look at your file in more detail as well.
Thank you, Brandy, so
Okay,
much.
thank you.
And also, I'd
Yes.
like to add that typically when we see there's an issue with a student creating their portal, what that means sometimes is that the application process isn't complete. And you mentioned at the beginning of the conversation that you hadn't heard anything from the department. So let me ask you, have you received an actual official admission notification from dental hygiene?
No, I just received a general welcoming letter in the email. So that's why I'm not sure. But
Okay.
like in the application, it says everything is complete, it's been submitted, everything is checked green 100%. So
You know
that's
what?
why.
Let me double check that. I put my email in the chat. Send me an email and I'm going to follow up with you tomorrow. I'm going to go
Okay.
to TargetX and see exactly where your application is in the process and see if I can help you get your portal set up.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's why we do this.
And,
Okay, Joyce, sounds like we've got, oh, go ahead,
no, I
Sergio.
was going to say just one last thing for Anna's prior question about scholarships. I just pulled up in Sallie, and I just did graduate student education as major. There's about 60 scholarships in there, so definitely take a look at that to help you get some free money in there.
That's great. That's great. Well, I want to be sensitive to everyone's time. Thank you so much. We have had a great session. The questions have been great. It sounds like we need to be doing this more often, but I want to thank our presenters and our experts. Sergio, thank you so much for your time, and Brandy and Scott and Keith and Gabby, and all of our audience for participating. Please tell your friends that we do these Meet with an Expert information sessions. They're free and they're for you. So have a great evening, everyone. Bye now.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.